Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships. And today, I'm gonna be taking a look at FDR, which is an American steel aircraft carrier, as well as the Shinano, which has also recently released for also the steel resource. So both of the steel aircraft carriers are available right now. Obviously the Shinano will also going to be available after January, except the fact that it will be a lot cheaper. So don't worry about the Shinano if you are thinking that it will be only for limited time. The fact is that the Shinano and Archerfish, which is a tier 10 submarine, both will be available for not only cheaper, I believe, but also they will be staying here for indefinite period of time, just like FDR. So with that thing out of the way, let's give you the comparison and what really is the power or the gimmick of FDR as well as of the Shinano. Because, well, you might be interested in both of these carriers, right? And I have played them extensively, especially the FDR, and also I have played quite a lot of games of Shinano to give you a really good perspective that what sort of gimmick and strength it has over the other. Okay, so let's talk about the FDR first, because FDR, in my personal opinion, really having tier 11 planes. Why I would say this? Well, the answer is pretty simple. FDR planes having the HP pool unlike anything at tier 10. First of all, you have 7 attack flights. Compared to the Shinanos, only 3 attack flights that you get on the torpedo bombers as well as on the skip bombers, right? You also have the bombers, which are tactical bombers that you don't get on FDR. So that is one big difference. But on the other hand, FDR also comes up with bombers and the torpedo bombers, okay? So, well, FDR having the HP pool of the planes double than Shinano. Literally at tier 10, Shinano has half the HP of FDR planes. Well, do you want a proof? Well, let me show you quickly. Well, with fully good captain skills and upgrades, I can able to get the Shinano torpedo bombers up to 2000 HP, as well as the skip bombers, which are the biggest strength of Shinano and probably the best gimmick of the Shinano itself, with the AP skip bombers having slightly more than 2000 HP, which is like 2100 right now. And in the case of FDR, it has double the HP, which is absolutely nuts. I will also explain the reason that why is the case, okay? So FDR having 4000 HP on the torpedo bombers, and the bombers also having almost 4000 HP, which is kind of bonkers, okay? Now you also do have attack aircraft that also have pretty insane levels of HP for rocket planes. So these planes are some of the most tankiest planes in the game. These planes absolutely feel like tier 11, except there is something that kind of makes it a bit different compared to Shinano. The Shinano torpedo bombers and bombers are a lot faster, I would say, okay? FDR planes can only go as fast as 174 knots with full captain skills and upgrades, okay? 174 knots for the bombers, the HE bombers, okay? These are not the AP bombers. HE bombers and also the torpedo bombers are also quite slowest, I would say. Like, they are actually one of the very, wonkier planes. They have not the best of the maneuverability compared to the Shinano, and they also having very worst sort of speed. So that is something that you also need to understand. But again, considering the speed it has of 166 knots, Shinano is not too far ahead, okay? Torpedo bombers of the Shinano is just slightly having more speed that you can see here, 191 knots compared to the FDR 166. And in the case of skip bombers, you have 209 knots. Oh, yeah, these are the skip bombers. 209 knots versus the FDRs, I would say, what? 174 knots? So they are not like too far ahead. But again, the double the HP, I feel that makes a lot of difference. Also, what makes FDR a lot much more powerful is the ability to strike target many times with insane alpha power. Okay, FDR having torpedo bombers that can have a potential of dropping a target 7 times. Insane tankiness of planes, and then you have the ability to drop theoretically 7 times. I mean, the practicality of FDR is that you can at least get 3 strikes on even a very good AA battleship or even a cruiser. If it is not the best in maneuverability, I will explain that later. But then you can see here, these planes have all of them having the opportunity of dropping a single target 7 times. And that's a gimmick of FDR. You have the insane alpha potential of torpedo bombers. Like, you have 8 torpedoes in per payload in a single flight. Also, you have 8 bombs in a single flight, which you can see here the alpha damage as well respectively, means that you can just deliver a devastating drop on a single target, and you can just also get fires as well as floods, which is kind of crazy, right? I mean, you also have a couple of other gimmicks which Shinano won't have, but Shinano has something else, going for it. So these planes are extremely powerful in delivering devastating salvos, okay? Let me show you the FDR real gimmick against battleships, because that's where FDR planes are, I would say, way better than Shinano. I mean, Shinano also do good damage. The torpedo bombers and skip bombers are pretty devastating. You have the skip AP bombers that can just citadel like battleships very consistently, doing like 20k, maybe 14, 15k regularly, and you can have 2 strikes with also having access to heal. But FDR does not have access to heal. As you can see here, the torpedo bombers and the bombers both does not have access to heal. But again, double the HP compared to the Shinano is so insane, because the planes won't be getting shot down in the case of FDR by a single enemy ship. In the case of Shinano, if someone has a defensive air fire, for example, in the case of Wisconsin, in the case of maybe the San Vincent, in the case of Prince Van Orange or the Goudenlieu, any ship that are having good A parameters and having a defensive A means that if you don't have heals, you are going to lose a lot of planes, because these planes are also tier 8 planes. These are not tier 10 planes of the Hakuryu. These are tier 8 Shokaku planes. So they are actually weaker than even Hakuryu, which is a tier 10 counterpart of Shinano, right? That's a Tech 3 aircraft carrier. So FDR literally having insane tanky planes and having the gimmick, which I will show you quickly, with the torpedo bombers and bombers. Okay, so this is a video of mine in a replay channel which I have posted to someone, and he uploaded the replay, and you will be able to see that what I'm gonna be doing to this poor Yamato. Okay, so look at the Yamato and just find out that what FDR can really deliver against these poor battleships. So just watch the video very carefully. I will also gonna speed it up a bit, so you will be able to find out. As you can see, I did 22k damage on that poor battleship. And now I still have some strikes to deliver, right? He literally damaged on double fires, okay? I dropped him again. 5 bombs, 1 fire. And there are so many A ships as well, and FDR planes are looking to be pretty insanely tanky even against these anti-air, right? There's Yoshino, there's Sevilla and Yamato. And I got another drop. Got another fire, double fire again. This single squad able to do how much? I think he able to do like, look at the damage that I have racked in. It's almost 83,000 damage. Did you see what I'm talking about? This is the power of FDR. Absolutely wrecking his entire HP in a single squadron. Okay, so this is one of my videos in which I will be showing you the strength of torpedo bombers against another battleship, that is Kurfürst. Now, Kurfürst is not really having the best of the entire tier 10, but I will be just making the video faster, but I'm not going to be just, giving you maybe the full analysis of what I have done, but you can able to see the damage that I have racked in. So I'm just gonna mute the sound because I have done the commentary on this video myself. This is me also doing some damage on this poor Richelieu, because why not? And you can easily able to see that I'm just, I just badly dropped this Richelieu, but he will be dying anyway. But then you can see here I have this Kurfürst, 81,000 HP Kurfürst, and I don't have a full squad. And look at the torpedoes that I will be able to turn in. 180-degree turn, dropping the Kurfürst, getting a perfect drop, and look at the 8 torpedoes that I'm dropping on the Kurfürst. I got 7 torpedo hits, got a flood. I have still a couple of strikes to deliver on this poor guy, okay? I'm just gonna wait for 25 seconds because this is the gimmick of FDR itself. Dropping the Kurfürst again. I'm also gonna try to get the perfect strike as much as possible, dropping the Kurfürst, and you can see here what I'm doing here. I got 8 torpedo hits, double flood. These are permanent level flood because he DCB'd the first one. And now look at the HP that I'm just taking him down. I still have one strike to do. And I think he distributed those flood as well. And I might be able to get another strike because of the tankiness of the planes. And look at the crew force. I got what? 6 torpedo hits. I got a permanent flood, and he will eventually die. 7,000 HP, 6,000, and yep, he's dead. So you can see I got the wither on that guy. I killed him with just 3 strikes. I think it's like 4 strikes. Like look at you can now able to see how much the tankiness of FDR planes, torpedo planes, and bombers really having. So this is what I was talking about. These planes are insanely powerful, not only in terms of spotting, like you can spot any ship for days because these planes won't be able to get shot down by a single target, and you can just devastatingly deliver the salvos by getting permanent fires and floods again and again, okay? But that's good about the FDR. That's the entire gimmick against battleships or heavy cruisers or any cruiser as well if you're able to successfully deliver a target. I mean, you're not the best against like light cruisers because they are super maneuverable, but you can still able to spot them and you can still get some damage here and there. So that's where FDR does a bit lacking. But then let's talk about the Shinano. Okay, so Shinano having, weaker planes compared to FDR, but still the AP skip bombers that you have 4 of them in a single flight. You have total of 3 attack flights. You can drop 4 bombs in a single, attack flight. So you can still deliver a theoretical maximum damage of 27,000, okay, with the skip AP bombers. And this is non-healable damage, okay. FDR penetration damage still healable, but Shinano gimmick is that your citadel damage from the torpedo bombers, because again, torpedo bombers, if they hit onto the armor belt, that is also considered as citadel damage, okay. The torpedo bombers that are hitting also gonna do citadel damage. Also the skip bombers are they're also going to do citadel damage because obviously they are AP skip bombers. They will be dealing directly the citadel damage, so you won't be able to heal any of that damage unless they hit onto the bow or stern, right? So that's what makes Shinano planes, I would say, slightly bit better compared to FDR. But the real strength of the torpedo bombers, which I want to showcase you, is going to be against destroyers. Now these are also Shokaku torpedo bombers, okay? So not the Hakuryu, so the damage is low at 7,200. But again, your speed is relatively decent, and well, these torpedoes having really good arming distance at tier 8 plane for tier 8 planes, that you can actually do something like this, which I will be showing you quickly. So as you can see, the planes might not be tanky at only 17,000 HP in total compared to like 57, 58,000 on FDR. But look at the torpedoes. Look at the torpedoes. You can have a single torpedo strike having this sort of dispersion on torpedo bombers. FDR has really big torpedo dispersion, but the Shinano torpedo dispersion look like this with the same, I would say, what do you call it? The torpedo arming distance, I would say. So you can see here the Shimakaze having very less reaction time to dodge these torpedoes. Hence, he will eat all 3 torpedoes, dealing massive damage, which is the gimmick of these torpedo bombers. These torpedo bombers are extremely powerful, just like Manfred von Richthofen, but having way more, torpedo alpha. So, I mean, you can simply able to just get onto the crossfire. If anyone is shooting towards the Shimakaze and you make a crossfire against, using these torpedoes, well, this Shimakaze is in a huge trouble. He either have to dodge the shells coming towards you, or either he has to dodge the torpedoes. So this is a big dilemma that he literally has to deal with. So what would he choose is definitely up to him. Now there is another replay that I'm going to be showing you guys, and it's about showing you the power of AP skip bombers that they have given to the Shinano. Now these are very strong against battleships and cruisers, but they are particularly devastating against these poor aircraft carriers that have terrible maneuverability, especially likes of Nakhimov and Malta. And look at the damage that I'm delivering on this poor guy, bypassing the fighter planes because I'm not able to get into the 3-kilometer aura where the fighters will tag off the aircraft carrier itself. And now I'm just gonna go and drop it again by just quickly getting out of that 3-kilometer aura, because the AP skip bombers can easily able to do that, and you can able to get easy citadel strikes, like you're doing 22k damage and you have heals as well on top of that. And I'm dropping this poor Nakhimov again, and since his maneuverability is terrible, he won't be able to even try to dodge these skip AP bombers. And you can see here what I'm talking about. I got one drop, and now I got a full 4 Citadel drop of 27,000. And he's down to nothing. Yeah, his 50,000 HP is completely eradicated, and he's down to nothing. And this is the insane sniping potential that Shinano has over aircraft carrier. It's actually disgusting right now what Shinano can deliver against aircraft carriers, okay? But I mean, it's also really good against battleships and cruisers because, again, they have citadels, and you have the skip power, which having 600 millimeter penetration on the point blank skip and the second skip. The third skip is also having really good penetration of 290 millimeter, which is actually the best against cruisers. So you will easily able to do massive chunks of damage, no problem whatsoever for these skip bombers and torpedo bombers. Just like I said, really insane dispersion. Your torpedo alpha is insane, your speed of the torpedoes is insane, and you have the best regen time compared to FDR. Like, this is something that I would say is way better, and that is the regen time. Like, it has 50 seconds of regen time for torpedo bombers and skip bombers, like almost a minute respectively, and the FDR having a minute of aircraft preparation time for torpedo bombers and bombers almost respectively. So that's like double the difference, at least in terms of aircraft preparation time. So you will be getting one aircraft in 2 minutes in the case of Shinano. You will be getting actually a plane in just a single minute, which is like really better because you really need these torpedo bombers. And since they're going to be getting shot down a lot, you still have some decent deck. I would say aircraft on deck. For in the case of skip bomber, it's 20. In the torpedo bombers, it's what? 14. So torpedo bombers not the best, but the skip bombers are decent. And the HE dive bombers that they have given of the Shinano, these are the Kaga dive bombers, okay? So they are also very good. Like, it's having the similar potential strike of that of Nakhimov skip bombers, but instead they just dive onto a target. For example, in the case of tier 8 aircraft premium carrier Kaga, these are literally the Kaga style planes, but these are tier 10 planes of the, Hakuryu, I would say. So a lot much more tankier compared to torpedo bombers and skip bombers. And since it's also having the single strike gimmick, like in the case of Nakhimov, so they are way tankier than torpedo bombers and skip bombers itself. So yeah, you are pretty going to be reliable against isolated targets, doing really good damage and getting fires. Although I would say the FDR planes are really powerful compared to the Shinano planes, but one thing that Shinano probably shines over everything right now is the insane, I would say, tankiness that they have come up like for a carrier. For example, Shinano tankiness is unlike anything in the game. You not only have 75mm deck armor, okay? Well, it could be also a bit worse compared to the FDR deck armor of what, 89 or something? 87mm. Sure, it's definitely a bit weaker, but the tankiness of the armor is so good that every almost every HE battleship shell will going to be shattered. In the case of Shinano, it's also going to be the pretty much similar thing. Like 75mm is not going to be overmatchable, nor it's going to be able to get HE penetrated by maybe most battleships in this game, except for maybe the Conqueror and Thunder, but they can also do similar thing with FDR. But also one more thing that Shinano gets is the side armor plating. As you can see here, you have hanger plating that is 30mm side armor, like here and there, which you don't find much at like tier 10 carriers out there. There are so many carriers out there, but they don't have that good, aircraft hanger plating. Okay, sorry, not aircraft hanger plating, it's like the hanger plating of that, okay? Your bow armor is also 27mm, which means that you are not going to get AP penned by, for example, in the case of Stalingrad, the Stalingrad guns cannot overmatch you, the Des Moines guns cannot overmatch you with AP, so they won't be able to deal direct damage with AP. Instead, they have to shoot HE onto the bow or maybe on the side. Your armor, Citadel armor, is also like 160mm. It's kind of big, but again, it's a Yamato class hull, so you also have some areas of 400mm. Versus the FDRs, I would say relatively more weaker armor. You can see here, this is 19mm, so HE destroyer shell can also able to penetrate it. I mean, light cruisers and maybe the destroyers cannot even able to penetrate the this armor. They won't be able to do anything. But in the case of FDR, well, you do have this armor. As you can see here, this is a Citadel armor that is also quite wide, but it's not that thick, of 178mm and 193mm, so it's a bit difference. So you can see here you have a bit vulnerable armor, but again, the Shinano having way better armor. There's no doubt about it. Also, the Shinano, the most insane gimmick I would say for a Shinano that they have given is the smokes. It has literally a smoke for the one of the tankiest aircraft carrier in the game. Okay? Which is kind of crazy. You can actually smoke yourself up for a minute and no one can be able to spot you. Which is gonna increase the survivability of Shinano so much compared to FDR. Okay? So that is really powerful in my opinion. Also, there's a fact that for the Shinano, that they have given the secondaries improved dispersion like that of Graf Zeppelin. So they have actually very accurate secondary battery shells that you can throw on destroyers, on battleship. The pen is not the best at 21mm, but for a self-defense, these secondaries come real handy, especially if you can smoke yourself up and disengage against destroyer, so destroyer cannot be able to spot you, and you can utilize the smoke and you can shoot the secondaries at will if they are within your secondary range. Now you can improve this up to 11 kilometers if you want to, like if you use this skill, which I won't recommend you because you are losing either the proximity fuse, the torpedo improvement skill, or I would say bomber flight control, because this is gonna help a lot with the bombers and skip bombers. So definitely a lot much more valuable compared to the defensive fire expert, because the secondaries are not like crazy powerful anyway. They are for self-defense purposes, and I think this seems to be just fine and in line for doing what you can do in a carrier, okay, especially against destroyers. So you are actually able to do good damage against destroyers with the secondary battery, which is really nice. So that you cannot do on FDR. You don't have a smoke. Now you have a really good secondary. Now secondaries might look a lot, the reload time might look good, but these secondaries are complete trash. They just cannot do anything because the dispersion is also really bad. Unless they are like within 1 or 2 kilometers, which means that you are going to get torpedoed. Also, the FDR does not have the best of the torpedo belt, and Shinano, since it's a Yamato class aircraft carrier, it has the highest torpedo protection in the entire tier 10 aircraft carriers at 55%. Now that is a big number. 55% torpedo protection is really good, which means that the torpedoes will only be dealing half damage compared to FDRs. FDRs what? 25%? That's like more than double the torpedo protection that you can get on Shinano. That's insane. I would say it's really powerful. So the entire defense, I would say it's actually a bit weaker on Shinano, but again, since you have smoke, you have insane survivability. You have 3 smokes, you can smoke yourself up and you are going to be disengaged and no one will be able to do any damage because they have to either spot you with a radar or something, otherwise you are completely concealed. In the case of FDR having pretty poor concealment at 15.4 kilometers, where the Shinano has 14.3 kilometers. So that's another advantage goes to Shinano. If you ask me that which ship should I pick first, well, both ships are, I would say, compared to today's meta like extremely powerful. I would say FDR slightly gets a bit of an edge, I would say, against many A cruisers and battleship, because the planes are very tanky. You have tons of planes on deck, as you can see here, 23 planes and 23 planes and 23 planes for rockets. I mean, rockets are not the best thing in this game for FDR, but you should use torpedo bombers and bombers often, and they are still having good planes on deck, as well as regen time, considering the tankiness of they have. I was still gonna give FDR a lot of edge over the Shinano in some way, because even though you might take some AA damage, maybe you might even eat a flag, they are not going to get shot down easily. Compared to the Shinano, that if you just eat a single flag from maybe non-defensive fire AA or the defensive fire AA, your planes are gonna be melted like butter. Like they're just gonna be having no chance against very, very strong anti-cruisers. I mean, you're gonna be getting your plane shot down, and you have to entirely rely on heals for fighting against defensive fire, because these planes are not gonna survive for long. You do have heals on the skip bombers and as well as for the torpedo bombers. So that's where the Shinano will be able to survive against that intense AA that someone's gonna bring up to the table. Otherwise, it's gonna be having really sort of paper planes, whereas the FDR will still be able to deliver like 1 or 2 or 3 strikes depending upon the AA ship out there. So I would say FDR against battleship is the best, still the best compared to the Shinano. And also against heavy cruisers, because heavy cruisers also have really bad maneuverability and they are sort of bigger, so the bombs and torpedo hits are going to be a lot better. Whereas in the case of Shinano, it's a bit more specialized. The torpedo bombers, you actually will be having a perfect chance to get all torpedo hits compared to the FDRs. But again, the torpedo alpha maybe looks good, but having only 3 torpedoes means that it's still gonna be a bit lower regardless, okay? And in the case of FDR, you're just gonna be throw so much stuff onto the wall that something's gonna stick, and that's why I think the torpedo bombers are the torpedo bombers are going to be a bit clear winner, okay? So I would say totally up to your playstyle. I think the Shinano is, I would say, better in terms of aggressive gameplay. I mean, you can just play extremely aggressive, get to the positions quickly, and you can smoke yourself if you want to disengage, if you feel that you are showing broadside, and you can just smoke yourself up. But in the case of FDR, you have to play safe because your concealment is terrible, and you really don't need to get to the, you don't need to push towards the islands or something, because, well, you have so many attack flights in a single attack run that you can just able to get to the target and you just kill the target maybe in a single squadron if you get a lot of floods or fires. So that's why FDR is going to be pretty comfortable at long ranges. So totally up to your playstyle. I would say, I want to give you the comparison, and I would say there's not a clear winner. Both are extremely strong, both having their own gimmicks. Wargaming has successfully able to make Shinano as good as FDR. I am not gonna lie, Shinano is really strong. But again, it's not for the guys that eat a lot of flax. It's not for the guys that just, get into the multiple, AA, I would say ships out there. Like, it's really not gonna be able to do that. Like, you have to find out the isolated targets. On the case of FDR, you can even able to get to like 2 or 3 even ships. You can bypass their AA and still be able to do another strike again and again, because of the insane tankiness. But they are slow as F, and they are also very sluggish, so there you have to practice them a lot to achieve something, because they are not going to be easy, and you also have this delay time of 25 seconds. So these are the things that you have to understand before really making a decision. But I would say, again, I think I will be making a very conclusive decision, and I would say pick Shinano first because it's new. It's more interesting. It's not boring, I would say. The ability to kill aircraft carriers is insane. You're also able to get really good citadels on broadside cruiser and battleships, especially the ships that are around the islands and they cannot maneuver here and there much. That's where the Shinano AP skip bombers are pretty devastating. The torpedo bombers are pretty devastating. Even the bombers are good against destroyers because, again, the HE dive bombers will going to get some penetration. You have 8 bombs in payload. So Shinano would be my first choice if you haven't bought the FDR. So if you have bought the FDR, I think Shinano is a no-brainer. This is a perfect aircraft carrier. This is, I would say, unbalanced aircraft carrier, just like FDR. But again, I would say it's definitely worthy of steal. It's really strong. Definitely, in my opinion, is one of the most tankiest carriers and one of the most unique carriers that you can play in this game. They have somehow managed to make it really that unique that I actually liked it a lot. It's not boring, guys. FDR can go boring, but it is very devastating. It's extremely powerful. It could be pretty toxic because of the ability to drop many times over a single target and the spotting that you can farm. I think FDR definitely deserves still some sort of amazingness that it still has into 2025 or 2024. And I would conclude the video. And if you do have any question, guys, come on. If you have any questions, you can let me know down below. I will try to answer every single question regarding FDR and Shinano, and I will make sure that you will do the best purchase decision for your steal. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you might get some value of it. If you do like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys into the next one. Peace out.